Hey everybody, it's Ricky from All Sorts of Words, and I'm literally telling you the story as I tell our two guests tonight why the topic is what it is. This is Rohan from Back in the Games, and this is Bruce from Up North Comics. Great people. Sub to everybody. Sub to me. Sub to yourself. You deserve it. So I was picking the subject tonight, and I honestly I was going to be like, comics you own but you haven't read, or something in your whatever. Here he is. Here he is. What a haggard man.
Mike,
He's so
what up?
tired.
All right, give me a second to put a shirt on.
No, don't even worry about it. So I was going to my closet to find a comic to inspire myself to do the show, and I was like, what do I want? Maybe it's like comics you haven't read yet, or books that you bought. Are they still worth what you paid for, or whatever? And so I grab this random Star Trek book. This is Star Trek Volume 1, Issue 1 of Next Generation. So this is the whole Next Generation crew. And I open it up to take a thumbnail, the thumbnail that you'll see when this video goes up, or maybe you see it already right now if you're in the past. And so I do this, and I'm like, okay, here's the thumbnail. And I open the book. This bitch is a double cover.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
Awesome.
Random.
Awesome.
The guy who sold it to me didn't know it was a double cover. I didn't know it was a double cover, but it's a double cover. And I didn't own a double cover before. And so I thought, like, what better way to start a conversation than what surprises you about this hobby? What about the book surprises you? What about the hobby itself that surprises you? Are you surprised right now that I'm wearing clothes at all? Mr. Bruce. Bruce is our newest friend here. He's from Up North Comics. Oh, man, let me get that icon off your head, homie.
What is that icon, by the way? I
know. I'm so glad you asked. It's for my upcoming show that will be advertised on Monday. The C4 show, Comic Collecting Clash of Champions.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a whole thing, homie. We got this, we got that one. Look at that. We got
you got all the fancy upgrades with the paid version.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm in it. I'm in it. I'm paying for this. I'm paying for Photor, Fotor. It's a thumbnail video picture editor, and so like I use it for my thumbnails. It's super sexy. Here, let me show you the thumbnail. Here it is, the preview. Entire screen. This is gonna get trippy for a second. Wow.
There's that background again.
Boom.
Cool.
Yeah, there's you guys. That's you, but your buttons. So I was just thinking like surprise. So Bruce.
Yes.
Introduce yourself. Where do you live? And then what surprises you? What do you feel? You get surprises?
Okay. Yeah, I could get into that. So my name is Bruce. I'm 37. I live in Maine, just like Ricky. It's a crisp 8 degrees outside right now. I'm sure Mike knows a little bit about that because he's over on the East Coast. But yeah, what surprises me is you asking me to join the stream, first of all. So thank you very much, Ricky. I'm just a new guy. I'm trying to like get into this hobby and learn everybody's name and where everybody's from and
Bruce, are you new to the YouTube thing or new to the back into collecting?
Everything.
Oh,
comics.
right on.
Yeah, I just got into collecting comics last year in the spring. And so I'm just diving right into it. I've been friends with Brandon from Mod Comics for a while, actually close to 10 years now. I'm sure he's mentioned it a couple of times. I don't know if you guys overheard it, but we've been friends for a long time, and we got into like collecting Star Wars and stuff like that. So now he introduced me to comics, and I kind of jumped on board with that. And yeah, it's just been a huge learning curve for me, just trying to figure out the different keys and big books that people are collecting. And did you have another question?
I was gonna say, were you into it as a kid, or is it completely new?
Yeah, I was into it as a kid. I read a lot of Spawn when I was a kid because 37, so I was born in the the
90s kid.
Yeah, I was a 90s kid. So I have a couple copies of Spawn #1. It's the book that I remember vividly, but actually what I remember vividly is my dad collecting comics. And I know for a fact he had AF
15.
Yeah, AF 15. He had AF 15. I know he had one of those, and yeah, and I think I was the one that actually sold it.
Oh,
By accident.
no.
My parents got a divorce when I was younger, 16. So they split up, and he left all his stuff at our old house. And my mom was just like, "Hey, get rid of all this crap." So I took it to the local comic book store, and I was into like Magic the Gathering cards for a while when I was younger. So I took all of his comics to the comic book store and just sold them all there for Magic cards. And I'm pretty sure, and I'm almost certain, an AF-15 was in there.
Dang.
Yeah. So I just remember that growing up. You know, I remember my dad collecting comics. He had a lot of Amazing Spider-Man. And it's just those memories that kind of draw me into it. I don't know what it is. Like, I didn't grow up with those books. I wasn't alive then, but now that I have them in my collection, it just kind of brings back, you know, some nostalgia for me.
Well, that's what's cool about comics, like culturally, like especially in the United States, because it is a uniquely American art form.
Yeah,
especially the superhero books, specifically the superhero books. But what's cool about it is when you experience it now, there is that lineage to the character, like literally to the story. There's that lineage to like, this guy's the son of this author, who's the son of this artist, and it goes back, and you feel like you're living a part of it. So like comic collecting, like in that regard, is really powerful. It's really fun.
Yeah, and I feel like it's in my blood to collect comics. I was a big vintage toy collector before, so I kind of just grew up with all that stuff. So it's like instilled in me to continue on that legacy, even though I don't really have a deep connection with my father anymore. I have a son now. He's 2 years old, so I hope to raise him and be like, "Hey, here's this big book. You want it someday?
Don't sell it.
Don't sell it. Don't bring that AF-15 to the comic book store with some Magic cards." You know, I hope to have that connection someday with my son. And
do you still do the vintage toys thing?
Yeah, I still do a little bit. I'm more focused now into collecting comics. I made some big goals for myself for this year. So I'm just trying to stay on track with that. But I'm still into vintage toys. I still buy and sell them on the side. I have like a whole different community and page for that. But it's just with all the fees and everything, and they're not really buying anything anymore. Because of the recession, it's kind of slowed down a little bit, but still into it a little bit.
So that, I mean, giving up an AF-15 is surprising.
Yeah.
To say the least. Rohan, when's the last time you were surprised about the hobby or a book that you got? Like, when's the last time you had that feeling?
This is going to sound kind of lame of an answer, but I mean, my most recent surprise was honestly this, and not that we need to talk about it because it's been talked to death, but the most recent CGC scandal was a surprise when I first saw it. Like, I was like, someone found a new way to get after it. And so that would be my most recent surprise. But again, that's been talked to death. We don't need to rehash that conversation, but that would be my latest surprise, I would say.
Mike, did that surprise you?
No.
Scumbags are gonna scum.
No. My latest surprise was when you hit the live button, and I was screwing around back here at the comic books. Had no idea. I feel like I'm a mess right now. Like I just cut my hair. I had to put a shirt on. I never worn it before. It's too tight. My hair is like falling in my eyes. I'm itchy. It's bad. I'm just a mess right now. So I'm settling in. So
wait, why are you itchy?
I just cut my hair. Like
shower. You got to shower after you cut your hair. You got to shower.
I obviously don't understand these things.
I was going to shower, and I was like, Ricky called. I saw the bat signal go on, so I had to rush down here, and I'm regretting it. I'm like dying right now, you know. But
oh, poor guy.
Yeah, I mean, I've had surprises with books I found, finding autographs, things like that, double covers, like that type of stuff happens. I think my biggest surprise, I'm just gonna go full saccharine sweet here to kick this off, right? I always talk about how great the community is. I've been involved in a lot of hobbies. I have lots of hobbies. and there's a lot of not great people. You feel like it's it's the old boys club a lot of times at these. You feel like you're an imposter when you get into a hobby or back into a hobby. But comic books, it's the whole joke, the comic book guy, right? And it's unrelatable. You walk in, it's like actually, that I've not seen that. Almost exclusively all the people I've met are like middle-aged dads. We all just are reliving our childhood, just trying to feel something again. And every person I met has just been an absolute delight. You guys know this. I say this behind the scenes all the time. So I could not believe how welcoming this community has been. That's the biggest thing to me. I'm still shocked. Every day I meet people and I'm shocked by how nice comic book people are. I know there are bad seeds out there, but I haven't really met them.
Yeah, but if we were a bunch of like Ned Flanderses, that would be one thing. But like legit, like everybody's actually kind of cool.
They're cool.
I'm actually I like Mike's answer here, so I'm going to double down on that a little bit in the sense that so JP and I have our podcast, which is Absolute Gaming Nerds. Mike's been on it. Ricky, you're going to be coming up on it. Bruce, we're going to have to get you on there.
Definitely, yeah.
When we first started, like we didn't really know exactly what we were going to do. And just by a couple things that happened, we ended up just doing these like quote unquote interviews with collectors, people with channels, you name it. And like, so when that started rolling, I was like, man, unless we have, a high sub count, we're never going to be able to get cool guests. And that could not be further from the truth. Like, I mean, we have a small sub count, like 210 or something like that. And that has not stopped anyone I've ever reached out to from responding or coming on to the show. And like, that has been so cool. And so, that was a surprise. Like, I mean, it's shocking every time someone says yes. And it doesn't matter who it is, whether it be a collector all the way up to, some of the biggest names in the hobby, I'd say.
Yeah. You've had some ludicrous people on, Rohan.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's been very fun. I mean, like I look forward to it every week. It's super fun.
Yeah. It's just been trying to learn all that stuff for me mostly is like I said before, learning all the big keys and the books that people are going after was kind of a learning curve. Now it's like just remembering names and trying to get involved with the community, trying to get noticed a little bit.
So I mean, speaking of, I love that. You mentioned big goals earlier, but like
I want to hear too.
You can tell, you can know a lot about a man by what his big books that he's going after are. So like, what's your?
Do you want me to show some books?
Yeah, I mean, what are you going for? Yeah,
okay.
Show me what you got.
So for the beginning of the year, I kind of set out for some goals for the year, and I wanted to start with Amazing Spider-Man. So I picked up 2 books. Actually, not even last week; they came in the mail. So the first one being number 17, right there. Second,
nice.
Green Goblin. Yep. So I picked this one up, and I bought it from a seller on eBay, and I also wanted to include this as well. So I got both of these at the same time.
39 is such an epic cover.
It is. So we'll take a little bit.
Well presenting for their grades. They look great.
Yeah.
You think so? There's a lot of water damage right here. Yeah. I don't know if you could see that right there, Mike.
A little bit, yeah.
And then the back.
Yeah, it's the back.
Dude, this is my jam. I've talked about this with these guys a lot. Like, by all means, like run the back through mud to get me the cheaper price. As long as the front looks good, I'm all good, man.
It's the detached centerfold. I think we were talking about this, Rohan. It's like, oh, it was 1 page detached. I'm like, the whole thing
detached. Yeah. Okay. So on that note, so Ricky, another surprise of recent, like my most recent find, I found a Tomb of Dracula 10 at my comic shop for $40. And I was like, what? I was like, what am I missing here? And the LCS owner, if it's low grade, he will just like give it away. And so he was like, oh, it's a detached cover. And I was like, but it's complete. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, there's no restoration. He's like, yeah. And I was like, I'm going to take this. He's like, what about the detached cover? You don't care about that? I was like, I could not care less. In this bag, I can't tell. It looks detached.
Right. So I read the grader notes on these, and none of them are detached. So that's awesome. That's definitely a big plus. That was the reason why I bought them. was just because of not solely that reason, but just because I wanted them in my collection, just make a statement to myself at the beginning of the year. So I picked up these two, and then while I'm showing some books, I have some books set aside that I want to send to my presser, which is Jeff at Comic Spa. Mike sends all his books there. And I learned about Jeff from Brandon on Comics, and he was like, hey, this is a presser that I use. If you ever get any books you want to send, he's your guy. So I have a little stack that I want to send him, and the next one is number 38.
Last tick go.
Awesome.
Yep. It's got a little bit of pen right here, but it's okay.
Is it a name or a
presents-
number? I can't see.
It's a number, I believe. I don't know. I could show a little bit
Yeah,
closer.
it looks like a 26.
See, I like that stuff.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. And so I'm going to be sending this one to Jeff. This one was purchased off of Robot Monster Island on Whatnot. He had an all Spider-Man key show, so this one was picked up there. And then the next one is issue number 44 of Amazing Spider-Man. This is second appearance of Lizard. So this one is going to be sent to Jeff as well.
Nice.
And then issue number 21 of Fantastic Four, the first hate monger. I also read all of my books, so that's why I love having raw books. I read this one, and I was kind of weirdly surprised by the ending where it turned out to be Hitler. Spoiler alert! But yeah, it was a really good story. I like all the old school words.
So you press your books and then don't slab them. You press them just so they're better for you at home.
No, I'm gonna be sorry. I probably should have mentioned that. These are all going to be a part of my first submission to CGC this year. So these are all going to be sent to Jeff and then sent to CGC.
But I mean, Mike does that, and I think that's great. And if I had someone a connection to a presser, I would 100% do that because I have no interest in grading anymore.
Okay.
But I would absolutely still clean and press just so and then like put them in a Mylar, look 10 times better, 100%.
Yeah, this is in a Mylar. Yeah, this is in a Mylar, and I think it looks fine the way it is. I mean, it's a 4.0. That's what it is.
Bruce, it also lasts longer too. Jeff always points it out. Like sometimes, there's like dirt and grime on it. It's real simple to get off, and the longer it stays on, might be acids in it that make your book more brittle. He just cleans it off, dry clean it, and like that just makes a huge difference. Not just
the colors won't get worse. Is the point?
Correct. It won't get worse. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. But I'm really interested in getting these books slabbed just for preservation and to try to preserve them, and just for myself. I'm not a comic dealer. I'm not trying to sell any of my books. I already have some slab books, so I have a couple that I submit myself and try out the process, I guess. So
I know people are like I mean, not you, but like in general, people kind of look down on like flipping and reselling or even dealers, and like honest to God, this hobby doesn't exist without them. And so like I would actually be stoked if a person I knew as a good person was like, no, I want to go into dealing and like be a legit dealer. I'd be like all about that.
Yeah, that used to happen a lot when I told you, Ricky, about buying and selling sports cards. That was a big thing, was people were going after those 10s from PSA and just trying to maximize value and just trying to, I mean, people would go to Walmart and buy boxes of cards and go on eBay and sell them for double the price during COVID. Do it all the time,
I mean, crazy. But I don't think there's anything wrong with that. If there are people that are buying it, like, why should you stop?
Right. I mean, they were making a killing off of it.
Yeah.
So, but to me, I want to get these preserved and get them in some slabs and put them in my collection. And then the last one that I wanted to show is issue number 109 of the Journey into Mystery with Thor.
I love that one a lot. I love that
me
cover.
too. This is the fourth appearance of Magneto, and it's the
first
first
out of X-Men.
crossover. Yeah, it's a nice book. This one's also a VG plus. That's what I bought it as. So, And also, I like to take all my books and I post them to the CGC forum and ask the guys there, and they're all wizards and they know everything about grading comic books, and they know more than me. So that's just kind of how I get my information.
Mike, I saw you grab a bunch of comic books.
I did. You said surprises, and for some reason in my mind that jumped to the weirdest stuff I could find back here.
Okay.
So I found, interestingly enough, as you were showing the Star Trek one, I found mine sitting back there, and I don't think it's a double cover.
Sick.
Let me just double check, see if it's a double cover.
No, but okay. So if yours is a double cover, I have a theory.
If they're all double covers, that would be hilarious.
No, I think they might be more common.
Oh.
No, and so the only reason why I say that is because when I was looking at I was looking on eBay because I realized I wanted to own one, just like the first appearance of the Generation Crew. And I saw like 2 other copies that were double covers, and they were like, oh, it's super rare. And then I get this one in the mail, and it's a double cover. And so I know 3 is not a trend, but had he opened it, I would have been like, okay, they're super common.
Right, exactly. It could have just been a weird print run. I do want to address Cretan Bull in the comments. He was just commenting on my last video about my accent, which evidently in my video today slipped out several times.
Really?
Evidently, yeah. So I have not a bad Boston accent, but I definitely have a Boston accent. My family has it. I practice very hard to get rid of it, especially when I'm doing videos. If I have a couple drinks in me, forget it. But evidently it slipped a couple times in today's video. I guess I'm getting lazier as I do this YouTube thing. So we had a pretty fun conversation right before I jumped on with him. So Pocket Con Harvard, yeah. The Mainers, you guys got an accent too. Like my wife's family's from Maine, and they have like that down East Maine accent. Like it's like the Boston accent, but even more pronounced in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah,
it's fun. It's like it gives everyone a little story, right? A little insight into the person, just from their voice. I think it's pretty fantastic. So
for sure,
one of these days I'll just I'll be 2 beers in doing a video, and I'll just sound like Goodwill Hunting. And
yeah, I was gonna say you sound like Matt Damon over there. Yeah, I would love that.
Yeah,
you're gonna put like a new comedy guy, like, how do you like them apples?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, maybe I should play this up. That'd be cool. Maybe that's the better character for me instead of like emo Mike. So I grabbed a whole bunch of just random stuff. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, I grabbed a whole bunch of random stuff and just things that popped out as surprises for me. And I found this one. Was something crazy? I thought you might like this one, Ricky.
I do like that one.
Have you seen it before?
That was cool.
No.
Has anyone seen it before?
Is it? It almost looks like an acetate cover. Does it open?
It. This is not a real. It is a real comic book. So there was I did a trade with a guy from Germany. Contacted me via Instagram last year. When my channel first came out, and he was pretty persistent. Like, you want to send me something? Like, you don't have to send me anything. He's like, no, I'll send you some stuff, and you can send me some stuff back. And so I usually don't get my address, but he sent me this fantastic box of like different language books, right? A lot of stuff in German, of course, but other languages as well. Just fantastic stuff. He actually gave me a German Giant Size X-Men #1. But he sent me this book, and I couldn't find it. I'm looking at him like, where is this book? So I finally asked him what it was, and I realized he had told me, and I forgot. But it's a blank, it's a blank cover that you get, and he makes these himself. He makes these acetate covers himself.
That's cool.
That's
right.
Sick.
Isn't that sick? Like, and it's one of my favorite DC comics, like by far.
I want to get a Vampirella so bad. That would be so sick.
But Mike, that's obviously not his art, though, right?
No. Sorry, no. This is I don't know I can't remember who the artist is. He took this from something else. But even this, like, I couldn't even find like the original book this came from. It took me a long time to find out where he got this, and then he makes it printed on acetate. And then, the staples are perfect. I don't know how he does it. Honestly, I have no idea how he does it. It looks so professionally done.
Does she have like mercury rings on her feet?
She does. Yeah, I was going to ask you what the deal with that is.
I don't. So here's the deal with Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman is actually she has a lot in common with the X-Men in that, like, if you read Avengers, Spider-Man, Thor, Captain America, Black Cat, Iron Man, if you read all of those books, literally every single one, and then you picked up a random X-Men book, you'd be like, who the shit are all of these people? Right. I've never seen them anywhere. Wonder Woman is very much like that. Like, she's very insular. Her other gods will show up and be dicks elsewhere, but on the whole, like, there's like a lot of crazy Wonder Woman stories that just like I don't know anything about.
Yeah.
Interesting. I would have pictured her as like being one of the ones that like always.
I mean, essentially, like exactly.
She's a team character, so she's always on the teams. But when she's on her own adventures, it's like, who are these people that you're talking? Who like her best friend has like never appeared in a Superman book, but she has a best friend. It's like a dumpy, kind of doughy secretary girl that's like, oh gee whiz, and they've been best friends since the 50s. And I can't remember her name for the life of me, but like she's never been in a Superman book. She's never been in a Batman book.
Yeah. It's just kind of funny that she was so big in Golden Age. Wonder Woman.
She was very pretty.
Yeah. I love her covers.
So let's see. I get some random stuff here, guys. I was grabbing all sorts of stuff. You know, I found in this box though. I was going through my childhood box. Here we go. I found a couple. Here's some goodies, guys. This is one of the most read books as a kid. So this is a joke what if thing. So it's full of stories of like just ridiculous stuff. Like what if Galactus fought Ant-Man? Then he just steps on him. You know, it's like a two panels, you know, like they're all jokes in here. I used to read this comic book constantly as a young teenager. I absolutely love my favorite what if book. That was in there next to my 3 first comic books I ever bought with my own money. You want to see these? Yeah. Let's go backwards in time, right? So the third book, The Real Ghostbusters. I'm dating myself, by the way, with these books here. So it's 1989, right? So I used to love the Ghostbusters. I saw this randomly. All these I got in New Hampshire, by the way. We have a summer home in New Hampshire. So New Hampshire for Cretan Bowl there. New Hampshire. So I got this one. Going back a year before that, we have this random Transformers one where he's like fighting knights. I don't know what's going on. I don't remember. But my first comic book ever, and you can tell it is because of the condition, is an Ewok comic from 1987. It is gone. It is look at the popples in the back, right? I don't know if you guys are too old, too young for that, but it is in awful shape because I read it over and over and over again. So first comic book that I ever bought with my own money. People had given me comic books before this, but I got this at a convenience store in Wolfboro, New Hampshire, when I was 8 years old. So thought that was
very cool.
It was in the box, so I was like, hey, that surprised me. I forgot that was in there. Alongside some other goodies. When I collected comic books, I collected any comics I could get my hands on because I couldn't really afford them. But my mom would get like Little Debbie snack cakes or Drake's cakes, and we got these
yes.
Yeah.
I remember those.
You remember these? And I have a whole bunch of them. I used to love these things. So I have them. They're 2 packets. They're double comics. I have all 4.
I had an X-Men one, I think.
I have a couple X-Men ones somewhere. Yeah, I used to grab these whenever I could because I was like, oh, free comic books, right? That's how I used to look at it. And I actually found this one. This is nuts. I found this in a box of old comic books in my great aunt's attic. I did a whole video on it. I don't remember if I talked about this. Is that where I got this? Actually, no, this couldn't have been where I got this. I don't remember where I got this. Full disclosure, I have no idea where I got this. But this is from a Post cereal box in 1980.
Sick.
What this came out of. Little beat up, little muscle. Where did I get this? This is going to drive me nuts. But look at this cover. I mean, look at that. Come on. People love Joker with the car. I mean, he's got that little Neil Adams vibe kind of going on.
Do you know who the artist is on that, Mike?
I don't. I have no idea.
There's no credit for anybody on that.
There's there's nothing in here. The only reason I know it's post 1980 was because I found one on eBay. There's no.
Okay.
No, but I mean, look. I mean, it looks kind of like the.
That is awesome.
It kind of looks like the little bit of the the West the 60s Batman a little bit. So I found these all in there next to each other. I was in there. I'm like, that's weird and surprising. You might want to see that.
Yeah.
And I'll let you guys show some more books. I'll show you guys one more that I think is kind of interesting before I kick it over to you. And I got a lot more here because I just grabbed random stuff. But yeah, all right. Because it's on the topic. I'm going to give a sneak preview. I see some people in here who watch my channel. So I'm going to give you guys a sneak peek for Monday's video. Still watch Monday's video, even if I show you this book. I was recently, like last weekend, I was doing some comic hunting. Actually, what I'll do, people always say, like, how do you do so many videos? Like, which I don't think I do that many. It's because I do them all, like, in 1 or 2 days. Like, I'll just go out and, like, do tons of video, like, content. And I'll just come back in, record, and I'll just change my T-shirt. So I'll, like, do the first video. And then
sneaky.
And then I'll move everything around and be like, oh, it's another day. No, it was an hour afterwards. So, sorry. Sneaking behind the curtain there. But I was out, so I did a whole bunch of videos. But I went to flea market indoor place. Got not okay stuff. Got some pretty cool stuff, which I actually couldn't find. There's an actually interesting one. But then I went to a comic book store. And Ricky, I saw one of your shorts. You were talking to Mr. Brian Big Me Big Fly, the comic guy, about atomic war covers.
Mm-hmm.
I love atomic war stuff. I am a science and history buff. I collect things from like World War II, but it's specifically anything related to the Manhattan Project. Far before Oppenheimer. Fantastic movie, by the way. I saw this comic book and I had to have it. I'll tell you the price I paid for this in a second.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. You showed this to us on
cool.
the.
I sent you guys a picture of this. So this is Captain Marvel Adventures number 66 from 1946 Fawcett Comics. This is an atomic war cover. But guys, think about it. 1946. Most atomic war covers are in 1950s after, the Soviet Union got the bomb. This is a year after. Only the U.S. has the bomb. And in a nominally children's book, they're talking about the potential of, a nuclear holocaust. Bothers me not. CC Beck cover, Otto Binder cover stories in here. And so here's the thing. I'm not the biggest DC collector. This is Fawcett, obviously, but he became a DC character. But I love these historic covers, especially from the 40s, Golden Age. I had to have it. It had a price tag of $50 on it. However, Rohan, like we were just talking about, I took it up to look at it. It presents fantastic, right? It looks great. Cover looks great. The staples are attached, but the back cover is missing a third of it. Not only that, but all the pages, like the leading edges, the pieces chipped off. At first, I thought it was like rodent damage, but I actually realized it's just so brittle. It's just wherever the folds were that people and the indentations on it flaked off. But then when I was like, it felt light to me, so I counted the pages, and it was short 2 folios. So it's missing 8 pages in theory, right? Missing 2 folios, but who cares, right? Look at the book. So I'm thinking $30, $20. I still want it, of course. So I showed the guy. He's like, "Oh, well, it's missing pages. How about $5?"
$5, nice.
Yeah, $5. I don't care if it's missing pages. You getting this for the cover, guys? And it's 1946. It's right. It's history. It's science. It's comic books. Come on. $5 was a surprise. Kind of redeemed my whole day of hunting for comic books. So, and I go off on Monday's video. I go off on like a 10-minute, I don't want to say a diatribe, but I go off talking about the Manhattan Project. I kind of go down a rabbit hole, honestly, about like history and about the importance, significance of how the atomic bomb has permeated our culture and our art and our films and even our comic books. I kind of go off on my little soapbox. So it's fun for a very dark subject, but I had to show this book, guys, because this was I've had it like right behind me because I got it last weekend. I love it. Like, it's just, every time I see it, I'm like, $5. I'll buy anything for $5, like anything. Right. So my lunch cost more than $5 when I was out looking for this. So no doubt about it, guys. I had to show this book.
Mike, is that a key of any kind by any chance at all too? Or is it just a great cover kind of thing?
Oh, actually, I don't know. I think it just showed up as an early atomic.
I'm not. I am familiar with the Captain Marvel like keys by the cover. I'm not familiar with that one, but I think it is just, it's like, it's still in a goal. Like if you got a CGC on it, it would still say like atomic war cover.
Right. Exactly.
Like they would identify that that's good because it is cool. There's a flea market up here, Mike, that you'd like. It's in an old mill building and it's full of individual vendors. And every time I go, this guy's trying to sell me old Crime Does Not Pay Golden Age books. And I'm like, I don't want them. Yeah. And he's got like a ton of them. There's a fly in here. And
some of them are good. Some of them are good. You get the weird ones, like they're different ones. But you get like women's in crime, like the crimes committed by women's, like women's. What was wrong? I think women. It's late here, right? You guys on the East Coast. Like those the women ones are really cool. Also, some of them are really macabre. Like some people think they kind of look like pre-code horror, which I know we've talked about. Ricky, I don't really like pre-code horror either. The true crime is slightly more interesting to me because they are kind of based on like it's a history. It's real history, which I kind of like. But in general, no, they're not worth that much. It's a weird niche thing to collect that some people are.
Yeah, if you're into it, then like you're into it.
I mean,
that's like the whole thing. That's your whole spirit animal.
Yeah, I'm in Maine more than I admit to you guys. So I'm up there a lot.
Yeah,
we'll have to meet up.
I doubt you travel up far my way.
Where? How far up are you?
I am all the way in northern Maine by the Canadian border.
Yeah,
little town called
the New Brunswick side or the New Hampshire side?
New Brunswick.
Yeah, I have a coworker who goes up there for like his in-laws live up there like near Caribou, and it's like and it's like an 8-hour drive from here. It's like it's nuts, And I've been even just like Acadia. Never mind that. Like just going to Katahdin. Katahdin for me is like 7 hours. I mean, like it's a haul.
And
like it's a pretty good trip. It's a big state.
Real quick, just to share something real quick in this kind of realm, you guys. So it's been like So I'm in the Seattle area, so complete opposite side of the country as you guys. And it's been freezing here, but for freezing for us, we're talking 27 degrees, and I am like freezing my ass off.
I've been Rohan, my sister's in Portland, and she's from here. So she's been sending pictures and stuff of just like, you guys don't deal with snow very good. I just get a kick out of watching. Like, I have a friend in Maryland, like they get like an inch of snow, it's like school's canceled. Like it's like you need like a foot for the
my son's school on Thursday was delayed 2 hours because there were just like light winds and ice on the roads.
Right. Yeah. What is the temperature up there right now, Bruce? Because here I can feel it. It's getting cold here.
It's 9 here, says my phone.
Goodness.
It's probably close to like 2 degrees outside right now.
Yeah, with the wind, yeah, for sure.
But it can get up to negative 28, I've seen. Last year, around this time, it was like, I remember I had to go outside for something and it pretty much got blown away and I froze. It was like,
Bruce, are you from that area, or did you just happen to find yourself that far north?
So my mother is from this area, and she moved here when I graduated high school, and I stayed where I grew up, which was Connecticut. I'm from Plainville, Connecticut. So have you ever heard of that, Mike? Plainville,
I've
Connecticut?
heard it a couple times. Yeah, I've been there a few times.
Yep. So I grew up around there in Connecticut, and then I moved up here in 2009. I graduated in 05. Graduated in 05, and I moved up here in 2009. And I just haven't left since. I didn't want to go back to the city life.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, let me show you.
Understandable.
Yeah.
So, I'll show you 2 surprises. So, I love Vampirella covers. I love modern Vampirella covers. That's a connecting cover. I have an entire short box just literally stuffed with just Vampirella versions. Not when I'm done with them. But no, so I just like, it's literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of just Vampirella versions that I love collecting. And then these are these are surprising. What's going on there?
Innuendo there.
Exactly. Exactly. But like, this is actually like kind of a hard book to find because once we buy it, it doesn't go anywhere. So like people just hang on to this book. So when I first saw it, I was like, what the hell is that? And I went on eBay and there were like 3 copies. There was like 40, 80, and then 80. And I'm like, I'll get the 40. And so here it is. But so, okay, we have an idea of what Vampirella looks like on her covers. She's lots of different Christmassy. There's so we get an idea of pretty Vampirella, right? But then my favorite modern Vampirella, my favorite classic Warren Vampirella's 85, the space ray gun cover. Love it. I'll pull it out in a second. But this is my favorite modern cover of Vampirella. Look at that. She's having girl dinner, eating wine and a bunch of chocolates, and she's got her cat, and she's just watching TV. However, there is one enormous missed opportunity in this that bugs me to death, and I will tell the author tomorrow if I get to meet him, that you can see her reflection.
Wait, that's a mistake you're saying?
She's a vampire, man.
I would have not known that.
Okay. Yeah.
So like I get it. Like, yeah, they gave her a reflection. Come on. What are we doing here?
She's in her human form.
Don't.
That is kind of low hanging fruit, though. To be honest, if you're gonna put a mirror on a vampire cover,
it's got to be an empty mirror. I should be able to, and you know what? And you can add more to that. It should be an empty mirror, and I should be able to see the TV show she's watching.
There you go.
I'm saying.
There you go.
Wait, you said you're going to tell the author tomorrow? Are you going to like a con tomorrow?
Like I'm just saying, if I run into him at the gas station, if I one knew what he looked like or she, and then I 2 were able to speak to them about my distaste for their handling of the mirror. If all of these conditions were met, I would. I love that one. what I'm trying to.
Cool.
Oh man, this is Sozumaki. I still don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but Sozumaki does like unreal. I have 2 of those. That's Dirty Zerty.
That was pretty cool.
Linzer does beautiful Vampirellas.
Yeah.
Just a pretty lady. Man, my lights are shining all. I promise I'm not trying to molest her with my lights. It's just working out that way. I love the bowl cut they give her sometimes.
Yeah.
So, Ricky, while you're showing these, while I was out hunting for this, I found a box full of Vampirellas modern, and I thought of you, but belatedly, and I ended up editing it out of the videos because I thought there wasn't just Vampirella. There was a lot of racy stuff for family friendly.
Sure, and it's hard. I mean,
I owe you a trip back to that place, so I realized I should just scoff them all for you. Is that signed or fake?
It's signed. I don't care about signed books. I swear to God, I don't care. But like it was the only one of this cover. It's a Tyndall, Jamie Tyndall. But it's the only one of this cover. I love that one.
That one's cool.
I love the moon. I love the Batman. I love anything with the moon because her first appearance has a pretty prominent moon, and everybody likes. Yeah, there's always moons because everybody likes that Frank Frazetta cover. It is what it is. Moon on moon.
Yeah.
I don't know about you. I mean, Bruce, I just met you, so I don't know. I have zero knowledge of Vampirella.
Yeah.
So she's effectively, real talk, she's effectively a sexy crypt keeper. When the books first began, they were just short horror stories, little vignettes. And she just showed up and would be like, "Hey, cool cats, I have a pun. Do you like this pun? See you next time." And she would show up at the end of every issue and do her little pun dance. And then eventually they were getting letters. Warren Publishing was really good at publishing the letters of the fans. And so in the backs, there were all these Dirty Zerty. Nathan Zerty, if you don't know. Dirty Zerty. He's big. Dirty Zerty. He's big in Vampirella. Like, that's obscene. But so fans would write in, and so fans were asking, like, straight up, like, "Hey, who's this vampire chick? I want to know way more about this vampire chick." And so they expanded. I got 2 of those. One signed. They expanded on her story and her lore, and she's, for all intents and purposes, she's got the Kryptonian story. She's the last of her kind. She came to Earth, except she comes to Earth as an adult, so she's got more in common with Supergirl than anything else. And I love this color.
That's a nice one.
The detective, and that's Red Sonja. She's the lady in the red dress. Get it? Red Sonja. Get it? You get it.
Yeah.
I love that one. But so they gave her an expanded backstory. Her world died. That's an actual photo cover. The world died. Her world had blood that was water. It was called Draculon. And I know it's dorky, but they come up with an excuse for why everything has stupid vampire names. It's because our myth of Dracula was Vampirella's, like Christopher Columbus. He was a dude that said, like, "I'm going to go out into space and I'm going to see what else is out there." And they're like, "Okay, cool. Have fun, dude." And so he leaves and he comes to Earth and he becomes our myth. So our myth of Dracula is like her Christopher Columbus who came here and just became a big dude. And so when Vampirella gets here, she's like, "Oh, you've seen my kind before." And they're like, "Vampires aren't real, crazy lady." And she's like, "Okie dokie." And so she's now here learning more about her past and then the Helsings were a thing because they fought him, but they're really fighting an alien. So it's a comic book story where vampires are aliens. They're not magical creatures. Crosses don't do anything to them. They're just aliens. Art Germ.
So these are all Virgin variants. Are they only come this way, or do you?
No. So I'm bougie.
Yeah.
I'm bougie. There are a lot of these are like they only made 450, which for those of you who don't know how that works in comic books, like if you're new like Bruce, here you go. Here's some information. When you see a book that says they only made 450, they in fact printed a requirement much higher than that. Usually it's around like 3,000 because the printing company wants to make its bucks. And so they say like, "Yeah, we'll print you 450 and we'll give you but we're giving you the order of 3,000. And so then usually the company then goes through, collects the ones that are the best quality and destroys the rest. But that's effectively how they do it. So at one point in time, there's only 400 had about like 3,000.
And then every once in a while, someone finds a box of the ones that they didn't destroy and floods the market.
Yes.
with them.
Like, so this one, for example, this is a 500 print. They only made 500 of these, but they printed 3,000. They destroyed 2,500, presumably. I wanted to stop at my second favorite one.
Is that J. Scott Campbell? That's got to be.
Looks
John Royal 500 print run.
Oh, all right. Looks just like J. Scott Campbell.
I love this one. Oh God, I love that one. And there's even the plane in the sky. They did a whole 6-issue arc that was it was called Her versus the Superpowers, and so there's a team of the boys in her world, and so she like wrecks them. This is actually a sketch cover because it's all different artistic interpretations of Vampirella, anime Vampirella, sexy Vampirella, and then you bring it to the artist and they fill in with samurai Vampirella. I'd actually probably like to buy. Oh, this was my favorite image of Vampirella in 2023. So much so, I bought the regular version, I bought the foil, and then I bought the metal cover.
Ooh, the metal cover's nice.
The Dynamite, when they know they get something special, they usually make only like 100. So it's like, if you're the 101st fan who loves Vampirella, you can eat a bag of dicks because those get snapped up pretty quick. I love.
Where do you buy all these, Ricky? Are these
a lot? So here, the biggest source of Vampirella in the United States is whatnot sellers going to conventions, going up to an artist and saying, "Will you give me a discount if I buy 40 of them?" And they go, "Sure." And then they buy them for about 15 a book, and then they go on whatnot and sell it to me for 25. Although if you wait long enough and they realize that they'll never meet 35 Vampirella fans like Ricky, they'll eventually go down to like $18, $20 to recoup their funds, and then I snap them up in droves. I usually go into a whatnot show and they'll be like, "Someone just bought all my Vampirella." And I'm like, "Yeah, my name's Ricky." I'm trying to find. I want to get to my absolute favorite one, so we're gonna.
So Ricky, then you'd say you're all about those kind of exclusives, then.
I'm so bougie. If we go to like a museum, like a local museum, and they're like, "It's $15 to get in, but for 25 you can have a lanyard." I'm like, "Give me the lanyard." I can't help it. I always get VIP tickets to concerts, and I'm a monster. If you sell me a VIP option, I accept the VIP option.
You fly first class?
As often as I can.
Well, Ricky, I should tell you that you're coming onto our podcast in a couple weeks. We actually have a VIP experience for $200. So.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
There you go.
I'm in.
Sold.
I'll send you a lanyard, and you can wear it while we record.
Yeah, but like fuck around and find out if I don't get that lanyard in the mail. Go ahead, find out what happened. Where is it? Hold on. It's like literally one endless short box. It's like when you're eating food on like an episode of the Flintstones, like you just keep taking bites and it never goes away. There's just, and you'd think I would not remember that I have all these covers. I hate this guy. This came in a lot. I hate this artist. I don't collect him. He makes her look wet and disgusting. Like that's not a human anymore. That's just a gross sex blob. I don't like it.
The Poison Ivy.
But there we go. That's perfect.
There you go. Poison Ivy.
So sometimes she has wings, and sometimes she doesn't.
She can transmogrify. She can turn into different animals. She typically turns into just like a big bat or like bat wings, bat bullshit. But
maybe she can have a reflection sometimes then when she's in a certain form.
This is the only Comic Tom thing I got. There was an exclusive where you could get a red one where there was a print of like 500, and then the gray one, which is like 550 or something. I don't know. The one's less than the other, but I hunted down online with the guy that wanted to sell them all because I want to own all of the Virgin variants I want. Because here's the thing. You've just seen me go through probably about 200 different versions of Vampirella, right? How many good covers have there been? There's so many good covers of Vampirella that like Wolverine is way more popular and in a million different books. And I would argue that Vampirella has way more better covers than just Wolverine. That is a leather ash can for the anime reboot called Vampy. This is the series. I need to go through these. They tried to make a team out of Vampirella where they're like, look, it's other vampires that you don't care about. And it's like, yeah, but are they called Vampirella? And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, I don't really care. But she's on the team. There's also a big theme in Vampirella, if you didn't know, about playing cards, because there's a lot of playing card covers in the original Warren set of like her doing stuff on playing cards. But I have a lot of the Vampirella Red Sonja. They're a great team.
Did we lose Bruce?
He'll be back. I think he might have maybe. Oh, there he is. Hold on, I'll let him back on. Vampirella and Red Sonja got secured by Dynamite Comics. They're the ones that own the license to. It's over here, and so they're a great team. Vampirella is a chaotic good. Like, she'll kill you if she feels threatened, but overall she's a good person. But Red Sonja is just absolutely chaotic. Just chaotic. Like, she'll just, her first answer in any given situation is to kill whatever is potentially going to harm her. I love the covers of Betty and Veronica meet Vampirella and Red Sonja, but it's one of the worst books I've ever read. It's Drek. It's not.
Ricky, being the reader of comics like you are, I'm assuming you've read all these, but I'm assuming a lot of these are the exact same issue. They're just different covers for them.
Several. So I've actually, I didn't let you behind the curtain, but like on a lot of the back of these, I actually, here, let me move my mic. You're in the way. On a lot of the back of these, I open them up and I go to the indicia, and then I make a note on the back of the board itself in marker to be like, what is this?
Right.
Because yeah, you will get like, I have like 6 different covers for Vampirella Dead Flowers just because it was a mini series they did. They're all mini series, by the way. Like that's what Vampirella is now. They'll be like, hey, this is called Dead Flowers, and this one's called Reckoning, and it's always like 6 or 7 issues. But yeah, Dan Parent, I would get him to sign this. I know he goes to the convention we're going to a lot. Terrificon. But yeah, just a terrible story, really bad. No character development, no point. It's like they had a neat concept and then they just didn't deliver. I'm actually really annoyed I haven't found that book yet. You know what? We're speed running.
Pretty impressive collection, though.
It's one short box.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Is it a Vampirella short box?
That's one of the only 9 Marvel comic books I own.
That's a good one to have.
Ricky, you own more Vampirella comics than I owned comic books in general.
Yeah, definitely me.
Oh, here's a good one. Michael like this.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's tight.
Homage.
Oh, they did all the Turtles ones. They did the Casey Jones cover. They did a little bit.
Ooh, I want to see them.
Oh no, I actually didn't get them all. Because they're trade dress, and I usually don't collect trade dress. Oh, I love this one. Faster Vampirella, kill.
And this one next to me is the only reason I'm showing it right now. This is my only Red Sonja thing I own.
Oh, I want to see that. I love Red Sonja 1.
There it is.
So that's a key. That's the first metal bikini.
There you go.
Hell yeah.
The only one I got, but it's a good one.
There we go. Where? I know I must have missed it. I'm gonna talk amongst yourselves. I'm gonna find it.
I can feel the cold permeating my room down here. I can tell it's dropping because I haven't turned the heat up down here. And
well, I have a question then for the two of you. So, Bruce, we can start with you since you've already kind of started a little bit. But you talked about big goals. You show us what you've gotten so far. What else are you going to be looking for in 2024? And then, Mike, I want to kind of hear what your thoughts are on that.
So you want me to tell you which books I'm after?
Yeah.
I'd like Avengers #4.
Okay, so
That'd
first
be a
Captain
big one.
America.
Yeah. Low grade is better than no grade, so
That book has
probably-
come way down, so it's a good time
Yeah,
to buy it for sure.
it
Like
has.
way down.
yeah. I forget which issue number it is for Fantastic Four. I think it's 43, First in Humans.
45.
45. Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
45 would be a big one for me for the year. Just I'm really trying to pick up some graded comics because I don't have a lot to go off of. When I first started buying comics, it was mostly just raw books off Whatnot. So just trying to get into that, trying to grade my own comics, and that's really all I have for the year. I go to a comic book convention in the fall. It's called Bangor Comic Con. So I don't know if Ricky's going to be there. I'm going to try.
I'll be coming to that one. I won't be. I probably won't be buying anything, but I'll
Yeah.
absolutely go and film and stuff.
I think it's like $20 or $30 to get in, you know. And last year I met the actor from Terrifier. I don't know if you've ever heard of those movies, but he was there and he was signing, so I got his signature. And they just have vendors, so I'll be going to that and trying to pick up some books there.
Nice.
Probably round off the year for me there. Trying to keep it short and sweet this year.
Right on.
So, yeah.
Mike, what about you?
I talked recently. I did like a little, year-end thing, talk about goals. We talked about X-Men #1 is kind of like on the radar. That's sort of like my realistic holy grail, right? The realistic one. The big one would be, AF-15, not going to happen, because unless I can find the one you sold that it was your dad's, Bruce. But yeah, X-Men 1 was what I said, and I sold some books at the end of last year, including a really big one, and I have the money, but it's hard. Like when I look at it, I still look at these books, they are kind of expensive paper. And, when I think about comic shows, trips, like you guys, we have this big trip in Terrificon, I'm thinking, that's gonna be some money. I'd rather have my money, I start thinking like I go bring my kids on vacation or, do something cool with that money, take a trip out to the Pacific Northwest. A part of me, it's hard to pull the trigger on a really big book. But that being said, I said, quality over quantity this year. And, one of the things I do because I go to flea markets and stuff, I get tons of cheap books and I don't want to do that anymore. They're all over the place. So yeah, if you start looking at it that way, yeah, now I'm down to X-Men 1, X-Men 4, Daredevil 1, all on my list.
Feasible.
Yeah, feasible. I just don't know if I want him ready to pull the trigger. I want there to be a good story. I think I've said this too. I want it to be a good story in getting that book. I've talked about, for me, the hunt is what's exciting. The comic book afterwards, you get it and you're like, oh, that was okay. I always say it's the cherry on the top of the sundae, but the sundae is what fills you up. Right.
Definitely. Yeah.
So case in point, I did a short on it on my channel because I felt guilty. I bought first appearance of Ghost Rider. I bought it on like Elite Comics. It was like I was day drinking at my niece's birthday party, saw it, got a great deal on it, delivered to my house, opened it up, and I felt nothing. I was like, cool. Because there wasn't an experience there. And that's the issue. And I know I'm asking a lot for like an X-Men #1. I want it to be a story. It can still be like from a comic book store or comic convention, but it has to be a story for me to associate with that book. Just buying it online is very sterile to me, and it just doesn't have the appeal. So that's my big ask this year. I want some big ask. Man, I'm tired. Big ask this year is to get some bigger books, but I want there to be a story as well.
Do you think that would you, because X-Men 1, let's just say, is here on a price tier, would X-Men 4 provide a level of satisfaction with, a quarter of the cost?
Well, here's the flip side. I've had several opportunities to get a Daredevil #1, and the reason I haven't is because that money could go towards the X-Men 1. I think I should get the X-Men 1 first if I'm going to get it.
I agree.
Because you put the more money, you get the more expensive one first, right? Because if you get the Daredevil, now I don't have the money to get X-Men 1 or whatever it is. So that's my dilemma. I would have said yes 6 months ago, a year ago to that question. Absolutely, incrementally. I never thought I'd own these books anyways. But at this point in the game where I have the money, I should just buy the big one.
I won't say because I don't want to flirt with the idea that comic books are a good investment. They're a terrible investment. But what I mean is comic books have wider swings. So like if I'm not saying that like, oh, this book's gonna go up 5% every year, but in a year and a half when you might want to buy it again, it might be up 70%, like an insane number to make it unreachable. So like when it is within reach, like, yeah, I can see going for it.
This is kind of something I've been thinking about a lot lately. Because a lot of us, we talk about looking at books across the long term, holding on for 20 years. With that in mind, do I think in 20 years, a lot of the books will go up? Yes, to a degree, right? I'm really starting to think though that, and again, this is not intent to like limit what I want, but that in terms of like an investment level book, there really aren't that many, like I think a lot of us think there are. Does that make sense? Like in the sense that like in 20 years, this $1,000 book will be potentially $4,000. Like an increase like that, I think is only capable on a handful of books actually there. Even though, books that we have will go up, but not to that kind of level.
I think we missed our boat on that with COVID.
Yeah, but I mean that's all come back down. That's why we've had the crash, right? But if you do look at like an X-Men 1, books like that, like if you kind of look, like they kind of hit a plateau every 10 years, and then every 10 years they kind of take a next step up, and then they plateau. But for the most part, like most books just kind of have a slight kind of uptick trajectory, right? So when I'm talking about like the books, I say the few of them that are like, not that I think comic books should be investments, but like if we were to call it an investment grade book, those are just a handful of books, but they do have that kind of 10-year plateau. 10 years, it'll go up, plateau for 10, and then go up to the next level kind of thing. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
It does, yeah. And it's nice to hear that, because I've dabbled in the fact that comic books are an investment, because in my mind for a while I was thinking when I get to 60 years old, okay, that's going to be in less than 30 years. But when I get to that level, are those books, what's the shortage going to be like on Silver Age books? What's the shortage going to be on, books that I have right here? Are they going to go up in value? Are collectors that have this book in hands say, I'm not going to sell it, and then it just kind of creates this market where there's a shortage.
I mean, on that note, Mike, you said this. When did you say this? Was it a video or something, or maybe it was just on our group thread? Right now, I think for us, we don't have an idea on the Silver Age, because there are so many boomers that are passing away right now. Like, for example, like I talked with some people, like the highest graded AF-15 unrestored blue label is a 9.6. Like there very well may be a 9.8 that could come out in the next 10 years because of these collections that are going to be unearthed in the next decade. And so like in terms of like quantities of Silver Age books, like I would not call Silver Age books rare, right? Do I want them? Are they valuable? Are they desirable? Absolutely. But like they're not rare because it's still an unknown quantity, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And then of the known quantity, I mean, there's still, AF-15 has over 3,000 copies on the census alone. That doesn't count raw copies.
Yeah.
Right. And I've said it in several different times, but like that's the issue. In my mind is I'm relatively close to Boston, but I'm still kind of in the middle of nowhere, right? And there's plenty of, I go to my local comic book store, it gets collections in every week. I have friends who find collections every week. You go on Facebook, collections every week. I've seen old guys walk into stores saying, I have a comic book collection I need to sell. And that's like everywhere I go, and it's constant. The comic books are out there, and it's at the age where these people are either deciding to get rid of it, or unfortunately they're passing on, and it's, their widows are selling it, whatever it may be. There's a lot more collections out there that people realize. The reason they're scarce is, yes, it was digestible, expendable entertainment. You read it, kids would throw it away. But I think it's also because all of these books from the 60s are locked up in people's houses. I really do think a lot of them are there. So, yes, I think more comic books are going to be found because people know there's money there and it's that right age. But what scares me the most is more who's collecting. So I worry 20, 30 years, say, oh, every decade keeps going up. My question is anyone going to care? Yes, there's going to be plenty of books that always hold money because they're rare and they are culturally important. But if nobody, my kids' age, our kids' age wants them, that's what concerns me. And my son, my son likes certain characters. He likes comic books, but not the characters I like. The characters from his generation. Miles Morales. I talked about this recently.
I mean,
so that's a weird trade-off.
I always feel like at that high end, there's gonna be enough. I think of it like Da Vinci painted paintings hundreds of years ago. No one's really like talking about, like it's on a pop culture basis. But if a Da Vinci gets discovered tomorrow, there's gonna be a buyer for 450 million tomorrow.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like I do think like at the big end, like I think there will always be an appetite of collectors that do want those.
Right. You heard it here first, folks. Rohan thinks Rob Liefeld is Da Vinci.
No,
said it.
If there was a comic book artist further from Da Vinci, it would be Rob Liefeld.
But so I want to show you this example. This is kind of what you're talking about, except we're seeing the goalpost further away. People think Golden Age books are immune to this, like, oh, I get that it's important, but I don't really care attitude that Silver Age is immune to right now. But look at this book. I use this as the example to try to prove my point all the time. This is a 6.0 of one of Superman's most major villains, Mr. Mxyzptlk, from 1944. This is a 6.0, people. Look at this book for $3,500. This is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Cream to off-white pages. It's a beautiful book, and that's not an isolated thing among Superman. Specifically, I love Superman, so I know these books, but like that's Superman, because modern people don't care about his Golden Age villains.
No, but I this is kind of on par with what I was just talking about, though. Like that book is just not significant enough for me to consider like an upper tier. Again, this is what goes back to like, I actually think that the amount of books that have exponential growth potential are very few. And like, that's a perfect example of like a book people would be like, oh, it's a Golden Age Superman, yellow cover, high grade. That's got to be worth a lot of money. To me, like that book is not going to be worth a lot of money. I mean, obviously, this is relatively speaking, that was listed at $3,500. It's a lot of money, obviously, but like, that's gonna be where that book stays. And I don't see it having, like, for example, like you, Bruce, like you put up that Fantastic Four 21. Like, if you were to tell me books 1 to 100, what Fantastic Four books would be, I kind of consider on this exponential growth rate capacity or potential, I would say 1, I would say 5, and that's probably it.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
And I am, my favorite character is Silver Surfer at 48. I would not put him on that.
Yeah, but it could. And Black Panther, I think culturally is important. 52. I don't think exponential growth, no, but I think it holds its value.
Yes, agreed. That's the point I make. I think a lot of these books that are like the big keys, they are stable and they will remain stable. They will remain desirable and culturally significant. But when we're talking about exponential growth capacity, it's Fantastic Four 1, and then like on the Superman runs, like it's Superman 1. And like,
well, so I've actually seen a pretty significant increase in the 2 big Superman books I do own. My Adventure 210, my first crypto, literally doubled. Like you can't get it for less than double what I paid for. I paid $1,500 for a 3.0. It doesn't exist for less than a 1,000 to grade point now. And then my Action 252, my Supergirl,
that's
4.0, that went up. That went up like 900, and it again, you can't. It's 1,000 more than it was before, but I think that's because the movie was announced.
I think the 252 is a fantastic, phenomenal book. But yeah, I think a lot of times now too, especially with like the downturn of the market, I think people are like, oh, it's all about the Golden Age, and like, yes, there's a lot of value in the Golden Age, but like people will be like, oh, I find a lot of I think there's you know, a lot of money to be had in these like non-Batman keys, and it's like I just couldn't disagree more. Like there's no
well. This is a perfect example. So I was going to say earlier, scarcity tends to be something that even when people kind of age out of the interest in something, if it's rare, it's still worth something. And that was why, even though there's not many people who collected Golden Age around anymore, people like Golden Age. But you look at the different types of Golden Age, a lot of people won't like these random Superman or Batman books, but they will like pre-code horror because that's the it thing right now. And it's exciting and sexy and cool.
Nice.
It's such a cool book. This
is my nice. Everything else goes into the sale pile at the end of my life. I get buried with this King Tut style.
Oh, that's a strange color on it though. On the left,
it's definitely off white, 100% off white. And then this is tape.
Oh, okay, that's tape.
So, but this is that example that I love. This example when you're talking about CGC, you can get a lower grade. Volunteer for a lower grade and it will ignore conservatory shit. So like you won't get a green label, but like so in reality, like with the corners, this is easily peasily. This is like a 4.5 somewhere in there, but they put this tape on to like reinforce the staples, but they didn't pop at all. But they did it to reinforce the staples and they took the grade hit.
But no, I think I would take the grade hit on it to keep it blue.
That comic book's awesome.
Yeah, that's the fine. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah,
I love her. This was 2,400 when I pulled the trigger because the Flash movie came out. These started to tank, and I saw it doing this, and I was like, nope. I bought it on the dip.
And there you go. Awesome pickup.
Yeah, that's a great one.
Rohan, this is on your list for this year, right?
Yeah, this would be my like second tier list, but like this is like the top of that, like because I have like kind of my tier list. I don't think I can get all of each tier. So when I think about like I get the tier 1 and then I get a tier 2, this is my top tier 2 book.
Yeah.
But this is so Bigby was like, oh, maybe you could crack it and press it. Legit, this is a exact 4.5. There's no, it is flat.
That's gonna be, yeah.
Mike, this is actually beautiful. The book I think about when we do Terrificon. That this is probably the book I'm going to be gunning for when
there's going to be tons of them there. I know that.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's going to
be. So this usually at this price is like 1,500 for the 4 or 5. But like the one guy put it up, he said 999. I went yes.
No, I agree. I think I could find a decent one for in the 900-ish range.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, even if it's just raw. And then just
I have no issue with raw.
I was obsessed with getting that book last year because I was getting all the Justice League Dark first appearances that I really liked. But here's my love-hate relationship with that book. I think that's one of the greatest covers of the Bronze Age, period. It is amazing. As a 70s horror cover, it's killer. But I could care less that it's Swamp Thing because it's not really Swamp Thing.
It's not the Swamp Thing that you read.
It's not the Swamp Thing anyone reads.
It's effectively it's effectively like if we obsessed over that tryout for Dr. Octopus.
Correct.
It's the same thing. Alex Olsen is his name in this one, and then they change it to Alec Jones.
And then it's like the next year they're like, oh, now let's really do it and have a character with almost the exact same name in origin. But for me, the Alec Holland is Swamp Thing. Like that's what makes that character famous. What makes that book famous isn't, I don't think everyone says first Swamp Thing. I think what makes that famous is it's one of the best. It's probably the best cover of the Bronze Age. So that's my issue with it. So I have the book I want. I got first Swamp Thing. Now I have less. I do want that. I wouldn't say no to it, but it's far less priority.
Just to like explain my motivation. Like I am not a fan of Swamp Thing. That is a pure cover buy.
There you go.
That's how much I recommend.
Don't blame you at all.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's one of those books
I would trade you this.
Wow.
That's a big, bold statement there, Ricky.
So I'm trying to think of like, okay, I would go for like a mid-grade like Bone number 1. I would do a 1-for-1. If you had a first print Bone number 1, I'd do a trade for that. I would do motherfucker, here it comes. I'm making this to the internet. If anyone sees this and I haven't done this. I want this trade. I will trade you this for a clean copy of 2000 AD Prague #2, the first appearance of Judge Dredd. If it's a clean copy, if it's just a mid-grade copy, I will call that an even trade. I'll shake your hand. I'll drive out.
I don't see that book very often at all.
You don't, and it's obnoxious because it shouldn't be as expensive as it is.
Right.
It shouldn't be, but it is now.
I don't know anything about that book.
That's the first Judge Dredd.
No, I know who Judge Dredd is, but like,
sure.
I don't know the market on that book.
So there's right now on eBay, if you want. So I think it's sub 200 on the CGC census. It is an uncommon book. You don't see it often. It came with like a Frisbee, which you can still find in some of them. That's the only way to get the blue label. You have to submit it with the Frisbee.
A Frisbee copy?
I don't care. I just want the book. I've been on a wicked indie kick for the last like 9 months or so. I've been on a pretty big indie kick of like, these are the indie characters that I grew up with. Because here's the thing. My brother fancied himself an artist, and he's exactly 5 years older than me. So when we were young and growing up, he was into comic books of the darker, weirder persuasion, and I was doing superhero stuff. And so when you're a little brother and you're done reading all your comics and you raid your brother's room when he's not there, what do you read? These like weird, strange. So that's how I read like Tank Girl. That's how I read Swamp Thing when I was a kid. He was into the Alan Moore run. That's how I read Sandman. I didn't understand any of it. I was not a genius kid, but like it existed in my house. And so like I have this like desire to know the ownership of
Ricky, this is kind of bringing it full circle here with our topic of surprise. Like you just admitted, like you've kind of now just fell into this love of indie. Like that's a surprise. Like to be perfectly fair, like my want of House of Secrets 92 is a complete surprise to me, because a year ago I'd have been like, I don't care about that book.
Yeah, I'm bringing it to Terrificon in the hopes that like I can, because I bought it because it was okay. I do love Swamp Thing, and if I kept it, it wouldn't be like a stone around my neck or anything like that. But like in the effort of trading high value books to get the high value books you want, like I want.
No, I mean, if for sure, like if you like, let's say like I go in there to look for that book. Let's just say you bring it there to trade just makes us, the two of us, be able to find a better deal that helps the both of us out. Because maybe I don't find a great deal on a House of Secrets 92, but I find a great deal on the book you want. I could get that, and then you can trade me, and then we're both happy.
Yeah, easy peasy. The only thing is you got to race me to find it before I do and buy it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
But if you find it and you're like, oh shit, yeah, oh for sure.
Yeah. So I have two things, quick points I want to bring up. This is kind of fascinating. I was gonna say there's certain comic books that are so recognizable you can see them from the other side of the con. Right? I was gonna say House of Secrets is true. I think of like ASM 50, those books that like no matter how far away they are, you recognize them. But here's the thing. Those are, I don't want to say a dime a dozen. They're still kind of rare, but everyone has them. You always see them at cons. Ricky, I will say this. Every time you've shown something indie, underground, rare, different, I am far more impressed with those than any of these other books. And they may not be worth as much, but I am way more intrigued by the first appearance of the Smurfs than the first fake Swamp Thing.
But Mike, I think that probably is because of what you shared earlier in terms of like when you just bought your Ghost Rider off the internet, it was a sterile experience.
Yeah. But it's also because they've seen all these books before. Yeah. That's the thing.
Right.
I've seen they're recognizable. You'll go to Terrificon, guys, and you're gonna see 10 of those.
Ricky, you see Ryan here in the chat.
12 issues of Prague sitting here with your name on. Do you have issue 2? If you have issue 2, I'll never stop coming. I'll turn inside out right on camera.
Ryan, if you have issue 2, give it to me and I'll trade to Ricky for that. We're still all happy.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, he doesn't. Yeah, choose the big one. I love. Yep. No, so here's this, Mike. I think I see game recognizes game. I think you'd actually love the class I teach because you're a fan of culture. You're a culture nerd,
and that's what I was getting at. And that would be. I don't want to tip my hand already. I love my collection, but I've seen it. I've seen this collection.
Mhm.
I've seen the stories here are unique to me, right? That I got them, but I've seen these collections a million times. You guys, some of you have seen my other room. I collect some weird stuff. I like strange things that are rare, but strange in their conversation starters. And we'll have this do this in a year, Ricky, and ask me. I think the big surprise will be that I got into obscure indie seminal books or important ones to history. That might be where my collection. I would not be surprised at all because it's in line with everything else I collect. That's the weird thing. I guess that's my preemptive surprise. I would not be that surprised. I
Now,
guess.
are you an Alan Moore fan? Would you consider yourself an Alan Moore fan?
I have been trying to be. I like Alan Moore. I absolutely do. I like all of the standalone story. That he's written. But I've been reading more Swamp Thing.
Yeah. So the cute thing about getting into indie is like a lot of times when you get into indie, you find yourself moving away from the mainstream, and you feel like you have to educate yourself on like, oh, this guy who I've never heard of, oh, he had a really cool career, James O'Barr or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But when you get into British indie, Alan Moore's hands are in everything.
Yeah,
and so you get like, he did so much for 2000 AD and Judge Dredd. He did so much for Tank Girl.
Mm-hmm.
Tank Girl. You'd love Tank Girl.
I know.
I just bought it.
When you said it the other day, I was like, I know he's going for it. It's a cool book. I like Tank Girl #1. That's a great cover. I love that cover. Classic. But
Mike, curious in terms of like being intrigued by the rarity aspect of things, does rare foreign versions of some of the books, does that interest you?
No, only if it's of the original nationality that the thing is from. Like it has to have like cultural context to it. And, like,
or if it was edited, in a fun way, like they were like, oh, we have to cover up her waist or something.
Correct.
I think that's
something like that, right? Something that reflects actual culture that makes it rare or interesting. Yeah, and that's why what kills me is this, because like I've had my hands on so much cool indie stuff, and I just like I'm like a Marvel guy, not really into it. So you broaden your horizons, and like same thing about learning that artist. Like Dave Stevens is like that for me. I mean, not that he's obscure at all. Everyone knows who he is, but I've been getting more into him, and that's way more interesting to me as an artist like that. Where it doesn't have a gigantic body of work that I can appreciate his art. It's a fun little thing to dip into, and then you start thinking, well, he's pretty famous. How many not famous, artists or lesser known ones that are, just as talented? And that's when we start wondering, is there other little sub collections you could add to kind of make your collection better? I like those little side hunts. Honestly, I like those kind of things because the collection itself and your interest in them is the notable thing, right? So Ricky, that's what I'm saying. It's not just the books you're showing. It's like, that's cool that Ricky likes that. I like you. So if I like you and you like something, I'm like, that's more interesting to me that Ricky's into that. I want to know more about it. You know what I mean? So that's what it is to me. So just like, I read about it or so.
There are a lot of YouTube channels, I would say, that or for comic books that I enjoy watching because I like to learn about these things that I have no interest in. Like there's a handful of Golden Age comic book channels that I'll watch because I don't know anything about them. I know the entire Marvel scene.
Yeah. It's all about history.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Well, speaking of history, I think that's probably a good place to make this history. Everybody, thank you for coming on tonight. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this later and recorded, Rohan is just awesome. What a nice guy. Mike, if he looked any more handsome, I wouldn't be able to look at my computer screen. He would. And Bruce, thank you for coming. Thank you for being our new friend. I really appreciate you being here tonight, buddy.
I appreciate it a lot, guys. Thank you very much.
Great hanging with you, Bruce. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, indeed.
Definitely.